like to begin by inviting one of our elders, Amber Blossom, to come and lead us in prayer.
Oh. Hi, good morning. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you and praise you for who you are. And we as your church commit to singing your praises and speaking your name forever. We know we'll fail, and we ask you for help and forgiveness along the way. We are yours, Lord, and all that we have, we desire to honor you. Thank you for City Church. We lay it all before you and ask you to make of it what you will and take us along to be a part of the beautiful big story you're writing in our city and in our world. This morning, we ask you to guide us word by word, step by step, and fill us with humility, love, and wisdom while we discuss and consider the future together. May you be honored and lifted up in our conversation. All we have and all we are is yours, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Amber. Well, welcome. Thank you all for being here. Let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to give you kind of a heavy content download to begin with, but this is an open forum. And so we're going to have some other participants up here in our leadership, and eventually all of our elders will be up here. We want to hear from you. What do you think about this? What questions do you have? And we'll do our best to interact and respond in that way to you. But for now, I wanted to introduce a couple of people. First of all, Valerie Thompson, who is our executive director. Valerie wears many hats at City Church. Her financial background has been particularly important in this whole process. We have Bryant Lee, who is an elder at City Church. He has served on our session, our financial oversight team, and property team. This is Bryant right here. And then Ruth Reitmeyer, who is an elder and member of our session. She has served as clerk of our session. She is a member of our property team as well. Please give a hearty round of applause for these leaders. This really has been an encouraging process from the standpoint thus far of working with our leadership on this. They have given their time and thought. Let me just move. Oh, there we go. All right. I've been really struck by their personal level of interest, prayer. I've met with every one of our elders and property team members, and you'll hear more about this later from Valerie, but we have 100% participation financially by them in this, and it's sort of astounding where we are so far at that point. So as I'm talking, you'll notice there's a number up here. You can text questions there, but we'll also have plenty of time for you to just from the floor. It's just sometimes some people they don't feel comfortable speaking from, yeah, Kyle's saying that's him. Come on, what are you talking about? I know you better than that. All right, let's begin with maybe the most macro question. Why a permanent home? City Church has been a church plant for 8 years. By God's grace, we've survived a pandemic. House of Blues has been an extraordinary place for us. Why a permanent facility? To make the most of our mission, to put it simply. It will greatly enhance what God has called us to do. You know, we're in the midst of the largest and fastest religious shift in American history. Far fewer people than ever say they have any religious affiliation, the category of nuns, particularly for younger cohorts. Church attendance, you can put up the next slide, by the way, whoever's working this slide. There we go. Because there's been a lot of journalism about this over the last year or two. Church attendance is down precipitously, especially in large urban areas. 40 million people who used to go to church have stopped going entirely. 87, this is a staggering number, 87 Protestant churches close every week in the United States, and that's a pre-COVID number. Many are disillusioned with organized religion, especially younger people. 35 million youth raised in Christian homes will say they do not identify as Christian by 2050. And many churches, I hope this does not sound judgmental, but in my opinion, after doing this for 32 years, many churches are just not well positioned to address these trends. One of the beauties of being part of a church plant is we baked this into the design of City Church. City Church is not the perfect church. We've got plenty of flaws, but we are intentionally designed to address these troubling trends in our country. So it'll give us a visible, physical, and enduring presence. Right now, we're just functionally invisible for most of the week to most of the people we long to serve and reach in this city. It'll also address the constraints we've faced. House of Blues is fabulous. Hear me say that without equivocation. Yes. We are so blessed, so fortunate to have been here from day one. It's been a delight to work with the House of Blues and Live Nation team. But there's been plenty of constraints, not the least of which are represented in two vital ministry areas, City Kids and City Youth. So if you imagine what we're thinking of, it's not just a different place to do what we're already doing, worshiping. Think of it as a lighthouse. Jesus said that we are to be, as his people, humbly the light of the world. We want to be that 24/7. Think of the church as a 24/7 ministry center, to be a welcoming place for those outside the church, to have a space for people to come in wherever they are, if they're deconstructing faith or not, and feel like they are heard, respected, and met where they are. And to train generations of people to what it means in a post-Christian era to live as followers of Jesus Christ. We'll have far greater flexibility to host events of all sorts, events that celebrates the arts, engages culture, addresses relevant topics in light of the gospel, and gather with our wonderful local and national and international mission partners to imagine what it would look like to address new areas of brokenness that we're not currently addressing as a church. Why this property? Let's go there next. So a high priority from the very beginning was that we find a long-range facility solution in central Houston. If you know anything, and you do, about real estate in central Houston, that is no small task. A lot of churches, when they get to this point, decide all they can do is move much further out. We really have been committed to staying close in, and we feel like we found an ideal location. Less than a mile north of I-10, easily accessible from the Yale exit off of I-10. We think this is a spot where we can gather people from all over the city. For each of us, obviously, that drive time means different things. For some of you, and it's kind of interesting when you look at the heat map of City Church, just how many of you live either in the Heights or adjacent neighborhoods. So for you, it's going to be a far less drive time. But for those of you living, say, in the southwest of Houston, southwestern part of Houston, it represents more of a burden, obviously. For those of you who, and there are those of you who actually walk to church here. You live downtown or you live in Edo and you walk to City Church at House of Blues. Obviously, it represents a very different calculus in terms of getting to church. We knew, this may seem obvious, but I'm just going to say it. We knew wherever we ended up, it was going to represent a loss for some in terms of this component. And I just want you to know, as your pastor, that weighs heavily upon me. I know it does all of our leaders. And so it's okay if you're struggling with this particular location. just know that we empathize, we want to be available, and feel free to reach out to us if you'd like to talk more about it. But we are committed to maintaining elements of our programming that is decentralized, such as city groups, focus groups, and some events. And yeah, that's all I'll say on that. Now let's talk specifically about the Heights. What a neighborhood. Located in Houston's dense inner loop and in the southern part of the Heights. Sometimes you say the Heights and you might immediately think 19th Street or north of there. This is, 9th and Harvard, right off of Heights Boulevard. It's in Houston's dense inner loop. The Heights is a vibrant, historic, eclectic city center area, populated, no surprise, by many people who don't presently go to church. So there's a great missional need, I believe, in that respect. And I think I know we're confident that people will come to this location from all over the city because, one, the proximity I already mentioned to I-10. Two, the Heights is already, for many people, and probably a lot of you would feel this way, a destination spot within the city. There's plenty of neighborhoods you would not think of, I'm going to go to a restaurant there, or there's a concert there, or there's an art installation there, or there's an incredible playground there. But people already see the Heights as a destination spot, and so why not make church a part of that? It's a vibrant area with, in terms of the arts, it boasts a number of galleries. The Redbud Arts Center, White Oak Music Hall is right there. Adjacent to it, the well-trafficked First Saturday Arts Market. And it has a reputation of being a really welcoming place to a wide range of people within the city. Now let's talk about the facility itself. It is a church property located at 201 East 9th, again, the intersection of 9th and Harvard. It is a church that has been in existence since, I think, 1904. It's been in this location since the 1920s. This building is the sanctuary building, mid-century modern, built in 1959. We had a feasibility study conducted by a construction company. They were surprised at how solid the actual structure is. There were no foundational structural issues. And yet, it is going to require substantial renovation. The sanctuary less than the rest of the facility, but we're really interested in reimagining the sanctuary in a way that fits the ethos and aesthetic of City Church. If you want just one reference point, there is a newish restaurant in the Heights off of 11th or on 11th called Loro. It's a collaboration between Uchi and Franklin Barbecue, and it was a church that has been reimagined. It's just one example. We could show interior pictures of the sanctuary. I know you want us to. I also know it's super easy just to Google. You could do it right now. But because we're so interested in working with our architect, which we've already begun that process, and reimagining it in a way that's consistent with who we are, I'd rather wait until we have deliverables that really serve that purpose. Looking at the aerial now the next slide, what you'll see is that these two primary buildings, the sanctuary event space that will be utilized, for instance, by Harvard Elementary at times. I'll get into that in a minute. And the children's ministry will also be located there. Frankly, all of that space is in disrepair due to deferred maintenance over an extended period of time. The other building, that's the one built in 1929. Think of it as a ministry training center. We're imagining having a coffee house on the ground level on 9th Street, right across from Harvard Elementary. But a coffee house with a missional component to it. Youth ministry and staff offices as well there. Perhaps gallery space featuring local artists, work for sale, and so on. We're really dreaming about how this this second building, the Ministry Training Center, can be something of a third space. When I lived in New York City, I was blown away by the generosity of the Jewish community there. The Jewish community centers in New York are really phenomenal place, open doors to the city. And we want our church to be that way. Some of the most underutilized space on the planet are churches. But City Church isn't an insular place. We want to be have those very porous walls to the city. We're right across, as I mentioned, from Harvard Elementary, which is very excited partnering with us. I introduced last Sunday their principal, Shelby Calabrese, and Rachel Walmer, who spoke in our service today, is a teacher at Harvard Elementary. And we have some families whose children are there right now. It's a diverse international baccalaureate and STEM magnet school, 48% minority enrollment, 19% socioeconomically disadvantaged. A magnet program means students not zoned can have access to Harvard through a lottery. And we are really eager, we've already begun talking with Dr. Calabrese about how we might partner with them through tutoring programs and the like, and mentoring programs. So before I start interviewing others, let me just reiterate how encouraging this process has been, working with our leadership. The session has been deeply involved both in prayer and thoughtful consideration of this, and it's really been amazing to see how it's unfolded. And I want to ask now that you thank our property team for the long, hard work that they have done over 8 years since City Church began. Those are their names right there. Okay, you want to join me now? You can take that. Now, I'm going to ask Bryant a question, because Bryant has been involved in the property process for 25 years. I'm sure it feels that way to you. No, for a long time. Can you tell us a little bit about the search process? Is this mic here live?
Sounds on.
Good.
The search process, yes. I guess the too long, didn't read version of it is we looked at a lot of places. You can see the property team there, elders and then some other folks in the City Church community with real estate expertise. We really leaned on our real estate experts through the process. We got very close to properties along the way. We looked at neighborhoods and locations throughout the city. We had extensive discussions about, the financing of it. Do we lease a property? Do we purchase? Do we do a greenfield development? Do we purchase something existing and kind of retrofit it to our needs? And so I think the watchword was just analysis. And then we were trying to, not paralyze ourselves with too much analysis. As we got closer, we spent much time in prayer, trying to seek the will of the Lord for City Church, not just work on an assumption that, as a church, we have to have, a building, a physical building. We're really trying to discern, God's will for this church body and our mission in Houston. It led us to this great property in the Heights. It just, kind of came at the right time, kind of checked a lot of the boxes that we had been focused on and been drawn to over the course of the kind of 8-year process. And again, it was something that was, as Leo mentioned, unanimously supported by the property team, unanimously supported by the session. And for me personally, I think what really excited me about this particular property is the location, and not particularly the location in the Heights, though I do love the Heights. I lived there for about 12 years. But when you walk out the front doors of the sanctuary and you walk right onto the street and you look to your left, and you have Harvard Elementary, and Leo's already talked about some of the kind of great energy that's already existing between our leadership and the leadership at Harvard. But you just look all around, we are planted in a neighborhood. It's just home after home after home, starting 10 yards away from the front doors of our sanctuary. And just like, what a better place, there's not a better place for City Church to kind of continue the mission of bringing beauty into broken places in Houston, then to be in a neighborhood, to give an opportunity to, exist as a good neighbor, to demonstrate just God's love to, the people, of this city through a spot where people are going to, they can't hide from us on a Sunday morning. They'll see us gathering. And I just got really excited about that.
Thanks, Bryant. Valerie, will you share with us a little bit about the timeline getting to this decision?
So, okay, I just want to make sure this was on. So as Bryant mentioned, it was a long process, and then as often happens in life, it was a fast process once we arrived. So we found out about this property late summer and put it under contract early November. And from then on, it began extensive feasibility studies. I have learned a lot of new real estate words throughout this process. So we worked on two fronts, trying to make sure that we could pay for it, and then trying to make sure that that we understood the facility and everything underneath it, within it. We had, as Leo mentioned, we had a facility condition assessment done by a construction company. We also ran asbestos testing, phase 1 environmental, several different things like that, and felt like it is a great building for City Church. On the financial side, as you can see, and I can't see, so I'm going to go off the top of my head, we put the property under contract. It is under contract for $5.4 million. And what we believe the very, very preliminary renovations are going to cost is $4,850. Is that what is up there?
Yeah.
Yes, $4,850 for a total of just over $10 million for the project. I think we skipped ahead.
That's okay.
Okay. The fundraising side, and I'm going to let Leo speak to this a little bit, but it was astonishing to Leo and me. We were overwhelmed by our elders' buy-in and generosity, and there were a couple other people within the greater City Church world, and I just could not be more excited to tell you all that we have, in our early leadership commitment phase, we've raised close to $6 million. Actually, let me say that again. Committed pledges, so $5.925 million. So it was astonishing. Do you want to add anything there, Leo, before I talk about next steps?
I think just that we felt like it was really important as a gauge as to whether this was the Lord's will for us as a church, was not just were our elders and property team willing to say yes to a vote, but that they were willing to really see this as a kingdom investment, as City Church's future. And it did just blow us away.
So as you can see, there's a couple other numbers out there. We had saved and had some early...
Can you go back to the previous slide, please? Thank you.
We had saved and had some early gifts, meaning in like several years ago, towards a property. So we already have $800,000 in City Church's savings before we found this property. So as you can see, that adds up to 6,725. It's not 10 million, so I'm sure you all are sitting there thinking, so what are we going to do with the interim, with the delta there? So we have been working, that was part of our initial feasibility. We have been working with several lenders to understand what kind of financing we can get. We've had a very positive response. We have a couple of indications of interest term sheets that have been given to us that will comprise of bridge financing for as our pledges come in, and then also we will likely have a permanent loan at the end of this. I have been personally encouraged by how enthusiastic the different lenders that I've talked to are about City Church, that they don't have concerns about where we are financially. And as those of you who work in this area know, getting a loan is no easy feat anymore after all the different financial issues in the early 2000s. So that's been encouraging. One thing that we really want to emphasize is less debt is better. I'm a very debt-averse person. Less debt means more ministry. And so we are very mindful of that and want to land the plane with the least amount of debt as possible. We do plan to have a church-wide capital campaign after Easter, which y'all will be hearing more about. So we hope to close that delta with that number. We don't expect that we'll close it completely, but we do want to make it smaller. The last thing I want to say that Bryant alluded to is one of the big topics that we talked about throughout this process was, did it make more sense for City Church to find a lease versus buy? And there was a couple things that really kept tilting us towards buying. And then when we found this property, we felt like this is where the Lord was leading us. And that was first that City Church is a nonprofit, so if we own our property, we don't have to pay property taxes. If we were to do a long-term lease, we would be paying property taxes each year. I mean, technically, the owner would be paying it, but they are passed straight to the person that's leasing. And then the other thing we talked about is a long-term lease is essentially debt in the accounting world now. It's actually classified the same. So a long-term lease is a form of debt where you essentially don't own anything at the end of it. And so those were the two things that really kind of swayed us towards that. If we could find something that we felt like was feasible for us to purchase, we felt like that was the best way to go.
Thank you, Valerie. Ruth, welcome. Hi. Would you talk a little bit about how you think this property will expand, enhance our presence and our mission in the city?
Yeah, I'm getting so choked up. Like, this feels like I'm getting chills. I'm getting choked up thinking about us actually owning a church home. There's a book that I love that I've been mentioning a lot in conversations called The Art of Gathering, and you may have heard about it. But it talks about the intentionality and the radical hospitality that we want to extend to people in order to build a community and the connections. And I think that this property gives us this opportunity to extend radical hospitality, not just to the community, but even to our church family. I think about all the young families and the little ones that I see coming up the escalator in the morning. And we have made do with our current spaces, but it doesn't feel like radical hospitality. It doesn't feel as warm and inviting as it could be. And listen, I'm done raising my kids. They're done with Sunday school. They're done with youth group. But, I think about our investment in this property as paying it forward. Because when we were raising children, we had the benefit of a stable church home. Something that I also, don't know if everybody knows, but I used to work on a church staff. And during those early years of being on church staff, we were in a temporary place, renting on Sunday mornings. And I can tell you that behind the scenes, there's a really big hidden drain on your human resources every Sunday morning. In addition to what you see when you show up, there's another whole, apparatus behind the scenes to make church happen. And so that drain on the resources can now be those resources can be diverted to more ministry, to pouring more into the work that really impacts families, versus setting up chairs and, sound systems and equipment and all the things that go into making church happen. So I'm so proud of what we've done for the last, 8
years.
8 years. But I'm really excited to see how we can take ministry to the next level with the resources of being in our own church home, being rooted and established in a community, being more visible, and being able to extend that radical hospitality to the people that we want to invite in.
Thank you, Ruth, so much. Valerie, we're almost to you. One more thing. Valerie, will you just walk us briefly through the timeline from here?
Sure, yes. So we're going to have 2 open forums. You're sitting in one right now. Our second one will be next Monday, February 5th at 7 p.m. at the Ion. It's going to cover a lot of the same things we've talked about this morning, but obviously it could be different questions. And we are carving out time in that one to have a time of distinct time of prayer over this decision. The week of February 18th, Leo, myself, and Clint will be visiting city groups. That's not to say all 3 of us are showing up together. You'll get one of us. You won't know which one, maybe. Just to talk with you, answer any questions. And then on Sunday, February 25th, we will vote at a congregational meeting afterward, right after church. Members vote at the congregational meeting, but we want to hear feedback from anyone that's in the city church world. Right now, we have a projected close date of March 20th. And after that, we will be fast and busy getting plans ready, securing contractors. As I mentioned, we'll have a church-wide capital campaign in April. And as of now, our very, very preliminary move-in date would probably be late summer, early fall 2025. Again, I've learned a lot about construction, and I've learned that permitting at the city takes a long time. Is only one thing we're looking at. So,
Thank you, Valerie, Bryant, and Ruth.